award show for gamers, G-Phoria, where wondrous celebs, heavenly bands, and gaming's biggest awards come together in a paradise for players. Check out this year's nominees in The Road to G-Phoria.
Makes a great video game. It comes down to the fun. I mean, it's like anything else. You can technically have beautiful graphics, you can have a great physics engine, you have amazing sound, but if it's just not fun to play, it doesn't matter how innovative your technical achievements are.
In my opinion, what makes a great video game is the playability. That's definitely the #1 thing.
Oh, I think a combination of things. Mario doesn't hurt at all. Breasts. So if you put those two together...
A lot of things make a great game. I like to think that the absolute greatest games are the ones that show some innovation, some personal spark.
I just think something that's really fun that you can immerse yourself in.
Great video game, I think, comes from having a combination of state-of-the-art technology with really great gameplay.
I think what makes a great video game is it introduces you to a new world with new environments and rules.
The nominees for Best Traditional Sports Game.
ESPN basketball is the game that I would go to when I want the most accurate recreation of real basketball. You know, the players look like they should, they move like they should, and they have the same skills and sometimes limitations that real basketball players should. It's the hardcore player's way to go.
ESPN NBA basketball is by far this year's best game. I mean, visually it was impressive. It just kind of brings something to basketball games you've really never seen before.
Well, the great thing about this game is that you actually feel like you're playing defense. And a lot of games emphasize the high scoring, but in this game, they try to balance it off with some really good techniques for defending the man, and I think that's why it's just a well-rounded sports game.
John Madden football has been around forever, and it keeps getting better and better. Definitely the couch potatoes football game.
Just had more depth than you could possibly want. The models look great. The gameplay, you felt like you were down on the field. And I mean, people walk in and are like, well, is there a game on? No, I'm playing it. You feel like every crunch and every hit and every tackle. You just feel that force.
The great thing about Madden is it never gets old. I mean, you play a story game, after 10 hours, you're done with it, you know, you throw the CD in the garbage. But with Madden, I mean, you play that every weekend. And now you can play it online, you can play it against friends, and it never gets old. So by far, that's probably the best sports game of the year.
My father wanted me to play golf so bad when I was a kid and force-fed the game of golf down my throat all the time. I hate real golf, but when it comes to video game golf, it's amazing, and Tiger Woods is really where it's at.
Tiger Woods 2004 is deceptively good. It's very accurate. It's beautiful. The controls really give you sort of an accurate representation of what a real golf swing is like, and you can put your own self in a game. You know, who wouldn't want to play a few rounds with Tiger Woods?
You can create this zany guy with clown glasses, you know, with sneakers on, these, you know, polka dot shorts or whatever, and you can actually put him in the game and play golf like that. It's really creative and it's really fun to do.
Topspin, I think, is the epitome of tennis games. The most important thing to a tennis game is that you're taking the most simple, basic play mechanic, and you have to make it compelling. And Topspin managed to look beautiful and be really precise at the same time. So it had everything I look for in a tennis game.
Topspin is a game that we all wanted but didn't know it. When this game came out, it's a total shock. No one heard of it. You know, it's a Microsoft game, but the best tennis game out there.
This game is great. Visually impressive. Gameplay, anybody can pick this up and play, but it's deep enough that has different types of shots for the people who really want to really hone their skills. And on the plate, huge career mode. It's got Anna Kournikova, so I mean, come on, guys, you got to play it.
Winning 11-7. Finally, that series makes it over to America. I know a lot of people that have imported PlayStations from Japan just so they can play that soccer franchise.
It's a worldwide phenomenon. It's like the leading soccer game everywhere. Every year they come out with tons of gameplay tweaks that really speak to the soccer fan.
I don't know where they keep pulling it from. I mean, every year there's this tug-of-war between Winning 11 and FIFA, and they keep upping the ante and upping the ante. I mean, what is there left to do in a soccer game for them to make it better?
You might not know anything about soccer, but if you play Winning 11-7, you see how elegant it is, and it will make you interested in soccer even if you aren't, because it's just so beautifully put together.
Casting director, hate you!
I really hate Gary Coleman.
Brought to you by Singular, the wireless company that fits you best.
love to put Bill O'Reilly's face on any sort of character that would render it an instant villain, because Bill O'Reilly is just so, like, irrationally pugilistic.
Casting director, hate you.
I'd put my roommate Chuck's face on a body in Vice City, and I'd first take him, smash him against the curb, and then I'd jump in a car and run over him 75 times.
I think I really hate Gary Coleman. He's really a little...
My ex-boyfriend, most definitely. Sorry, guys. I want to beat him up. And if you could pick up the skateboard, like, I'd do that.
The nominees for Best Alt Sports Game, presented by Mountain Dew.
NBA Street Volume 2. This is a fun, weird game of basketball.
Welcome to the School of Hard Knocks.
Everyone had been criticizing EA's traditional basketball game, and they came out with Street, and it was just so much better.
Crazy moves, crazy dunks.
Do you even know how to spell defense?
I probably played that game more hours than anything I played all last year.
I thought NFL Street was really the game that a lot of football gamers were waiting for. These Hail Mary passes and these crazy plays and flip things on the fly. They took everything that worked in the NBA Street series and totally made it work in NFL Street.
They're these over-the-top characters. They have these sort of, boastful lines and these crazy sort of outfits they're wearing. And it's a much more sort of urban, hip football game.
It's really a video game experience because you've never seen football like this played in real life.
I know people who are like, I've never been snowboarding, but I'm probably good at it because I'm good at SSX3.
And it gives you everything that a non-traditional sports game should do, and that's attitude.
Top to bottom of that mountain is a half an hour. You can snowboard for half an hour. That's ridiculous. And I loved it. I loved every second of that ridiculousness.
Thug is a great skateboarding game. It makes you pay your dues, and you get rewarded. And you feel so cool when you're pulling off those million-point combos.
Underground really adding the story mode, adding the create a trick, character modification, the face thing. It did everything that I wanted it to do. It's what skateboarding games needed to be.
WWE SmackDown, it's a great wrestling game. The creative player is great. You'd be surprised at the depth of, the character creation.
But also they had the WWE writers create all new storylines for these games. So kind of you're getting, a taste of the old and the new.
Everybody wants to just kick someone's ass every once in a while. And Here Comes the Pain is one of those great games to do it. I mean, you really can just lay into your friends or coworkers or whatever and just put them down and humiliate them.
I look up a porn site, and then the pop-ups come up, and as fast as I click the X button, another one comes up, and then it got so bad at work, the whole goddamn thing froze.
Finding my pictures on a porn site saying, see Bobby's nudie, naked pictures and her boobies. Well, I was single, wanted to start dating, did the online dating thing, met a guy who lived in New York, and he seemed great, and he flew me all the way to New York City. I got to the airport, and he didn't show up, and then I got back, and it turns out that he was really a grandmother. A grandmother with 6 grandchildren.
I was broken up by a girl once via email. I came in to work and the email said, it just said, I am so glad we will never be seeing each other or speaking to each other again. So I was like, it's a real electronic kick in the nuts.
The nominees for Best Racing Game.
F-Zero GX is profoundly fast. The sensation of speed is really unparalleled. You drive on instinct alone.
As soon as you hit those speed chevron things, sometimes I would just let go of the controller because I had no control over what was happening. If you listen real carefully, you'd almost hear yourself popping through the sound barrier. And what's more cool than that?
You look at a game like Mario Kart Double Dash and you say, doesn't this feel 80s? I mean, you have all these sort of hip racing games and you have a little guy throwing mushrooms on this sort of cartoony track. And you say, this feels kind of old school. But then you say, yeah, but that's what's cool about it, is that it's a really old school game.
No matter what people feel about video games, whipping turtle shells at your buddies, throwing banana peels at them, you can't not have a good time playing the game.
Midnight Club 2
creates not just a racetrack, but an entire city that you can tool around in and burn your tires off, and it has you facing off against what seem like real people. It's not just another car, it's some sassy person driving another car.
It's super adrenaline charged. There's always that rush of cutting through traffic and missing traffic. It's almost like you're existing in that city. And I think that's kind of like where racing needs to go.
Every racing game always promises to you, you're gonna feel that 100-mile-an-hour thing. Need for Speed Underground does that easily. I totally feel like losing my lunch and peeing my pants every time I play that game.
It's the only game that I can think of that really genuinely gives you that feeling like you're going really fast. When you're tearing down the street, and as you go faster, the camera starts shaking, and you hit the turbo, and like the lines just blur past you. It really makes you feel like you're in the middle of Fast and the Furious.
In Project Gotham 2, one of the best Xbox Live racing games, period. Just fast, cool cars, lots of damage.
It's not the racing that makes Gotham so much fun. It's the tricks, the stunts that you pull off. If you're the kind who likes to see what you can get away with and ride that car to its limits, and that's where Project Gotham has its appeal.
Get your game on. X-Play, tonight at 11 and 11:30, only on G4 Tech TV.
That's Ms. Pac-Man, everybody.
I'll be right there. That's pause, by the way.
Centipede.
I am the Wizard of War.
I don't know if you remember the song. It would be Hold on a minute.
Why did all old video game characters have like trachea throat boxes?
When he dies. And then he disappears. Which is so weird because how do you know that video game characters all want to be cremated?
The nominees for Best Sound Design.
Call of Duty's sound design is possibly the most standout of his features.
Everybody move! Come on!
You hear the bullets whizzing by, you hear the explosions a few yards down, you hear your fallen comrades, you hear the tanks, you hear the shells. And they're all very distinct and so well placed that you know what's going on in the space around you without being able to see it.
Never before have I actually been tempted to change my pants in the middle of the game. I'm playing Call of Duty and like a tank busts through a wall. I literally moved my hands away from the keyboard and mouse for a second. Holy crap! I had no idea what was going on, and the sound conveyed all that.
Some of the most epic moments in Lord of the Rings movies had that extra oomph because of all the distinct voices and all that clamor and stuff, and they really did a good job of transposing that into the game.
Keep moving, Mr. Frodo!
Every sword hitting a shield, every roar of a troll, you got exactly the way that you remembered it from the movie, and it was just perfect.
If you're standing in the other room and someone was playing Return of the King, I think you'd think they were watching the movie. I mean, that's how good it was.
Who enters my domain? There's so much activity in that game. There's so much action. There's so much on-screen chaos. And every sound just had to drive it home. The game is just alive.
I know you're around here somewhere, you rat.
A huge part of Manhunt is the sound design. You identify your enemies by the noise they're making, and it's just downright chilling to have someone speaking in your ear.
Snuff him out. Ice that jump.
If you wore the headset and you could hear the director speaking in your ear, you might want to keep the lights on. It'll scare the crap out of you.
That was one killer shot. Attaboy.
When you're upstairs in the mansion, Pigsy's chasing you around, he's got a chainsaw, and you find Pigsy based on where you hear his chainsaw wind up, and it's terrifying.
I can barely see the front of the raft. The sound in Medal of Honor Rising Sun is important, and I think adds a huge element, not just because the score is so rousing and such a huge part of the overall experience.
The Medal of Honor games always have incredible sound. Just that whole opening scene, the Pearl Harbor and everything, just stuff blowing up all over the place and the music going and people shouting. And, I mean, it's like a cool war movie and they really pull it off.
Prince of Persia had such an atmosphere to it. You always had a sense of complete immersion in this ancient Arabian world. The sounds that would echo through the palace and the rush of the wind and everything worked so well.
The sound design in Prince of Persia sort of lets you know the scale of the whole game. The whole game is encompassed in this really dramatic, really large sound scheme.
It conveyed a very epic feel from beginning to end. It makes you feel like you're in the middle of a story that somebody is telling you, like, you know, reading you a bedtime story or something. And that kind of carries throughout as a very classic adventure.
Okay, can I just tell you the funniest thing that my nephew does? All right, my nephew Matt, 7 years old. My father is older, and he has to wear an oxygen cannula. And when Matt's losing to my dad, he steps on the oxygen hose. My dad gets kind of lightheaded, and Matt will score. I had to sing Dress You Up by Madonna. Now, a lot of you might think, what's so embarrassing about that? I'm tone deaf, and I hate Madonna.
I was singing, and there was this girl that I was kind of, you know, was there with, spending a good time. And her boyfriend punched me.
Someone yelled out, "You suck." Duh! That's why I'm at a karaoke bar and not an American Idol, you twit.
You ever seen a black man do Justin Timberlake? Yeah, you'll never see it again.
And I was drunk, and I tried to sing Johnny Cash, Man in Black, and I ruined this song.
Right at the, you know, climax of the song, I decided it was time to do a split while I was singing, but I hadn't warmed up, so I ripped my jeans.
I swear I made everybody at the bar leave. And I was just like, I'm never gonna sing karaoke again.
The nominees for Best Soundtrack.
Amplitude is just a great collection of licensed music that just was all over the board. There was techno, there was rock, there was everything you could think of.
You've got alternative, you've got electronica, you've got hip-hop. It was that breadth that I think really allowed that game to step out from just a small group of core fans to the casual gamer.
If I played Amplitude right before I went to bed, I would actually like hear the songs in my head as I was trying to fall asleep. The soundtrack to Battlefield Vietnam was my favorite aspect of the game. More than the weapons, more than the vehicles, more than the combat, it brought me back to that era in history with a completeness that I guess you just don't get with purely visual effects.
You're playing as a VC, and you're hiding in the brush, and a Huey attack chopper rolls over your head, and you hear the music blasting out of the chopper. Kind of sells that imagery of the era.
They went back to all the great Vietnam movies and found the great sticky, surfy songs, and it really helped sell Vietnam when you jumped in and start playing.
SSX3 has, personally, my favorite licensed soundtrack of the year. It's got songs that I want to listen to by people that I like.
There's a lot of hip-hop, there's a lot of underground rock, and there's a bunch of different stuff. It's just perfect snowboarding music. It really gets you going.
The one thing I really dug about the music in SSX3 is how it dynamically altered as you're playing. If you're screwing up, if you're doing well, pulling off some crazy tricks, the music moves with you.
My neighbors had banged on my walls to tell me to turn down the stereo, and I'm just playing a game. But when you have remixed Red Hot Chili Peppers, you got Fatboy Slim in there, you can't go wrong.
With each version of Tony Hawk, they widen the net. I think they're getting to know the culture and the way the culture is changing.
That's a great example of a perfect soundtrack for a game. Hard rock, rap, heavy metal, all of it is just great skater music. I'm a really huge fan of Jurassic 5, and it's about time that someone has grabbed that band and thrown them in a game. When I fired up Tony Hawk's Underground and heard that in the beginning of the game, I was so happy. But the rest of the music in the game is great, too. You know, it's your typical skate tracks, but they really mixed it up this time. They did a great job.
True Crime kind of forced me to appreciate hip-hop. You know, look at me, I'm not really into hip-hop. It was a game that really helped me discover some music that I wouldn't have listened to before, and that's gotta be good.
True Crime Streets of LA had this like varied rap soundtrack and then some original rap pieces of music made for it, and it captures the tone and vibe and rhythms of LA.
Having grown up in LA, the selection of artists that they pick and, you know, the tracks that they pick, you know, was fantastic.
The road to G-Phoria continues. Here's what to expect from Volume 4. It's up to you to decide who wins. Go to G4TechTV.com/G-Phoria and vote on your favorite games now. It's up to you to choose which games win at this year's G-Phoria, the award show for gamers. Go to G4TechTV.com/G-Phoria and decide who gets best game, character, soundtrack, and more. Press, vote, and make your voice heard. It's all part of G-Phoria, presented by EB Games and Jeep.